Welcome to the Week 3 Go-To session. This is the third session of 4 that we're holding this month, thanks to those who are in attendance. As promised, this entire session is going to be devoted to APA. I am grading outlines still. Remember, we instructors aim for a 72-hour turnaround time, so that means by tomorrow at midnight, I hope to have all the outlines graded. They do take time. So, yeah, the bulk of them, hopefully all of them will be finished by midnight. Sometimes I do have to go a little bit past midnight, but yeah, look for feedback tonight or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow. By the time this session is over, eventually I do want to go home and eat dinner and get some sleep. And I have a feeling tomorrow's going to be a full day devoted to grading. Okay, so week 3, just like other weeks, right? You have a journal response where you summarize the reading and this lecture you're watching right now. Another Achieve module, the last one, by the way. Week 4, there is no Achieve module. But the main activity is this guy here, the 3.5, Composing with Care, which is just a fancy word for the, it's our clever title for the essay draft. So week 1, you brainstormed. Week 2, you completed an outline. You're going to get feedback on that outline because you obviously need to perhaps make improvements, make adjustments before you move on to the essay. Because, yeah, the outline, as I explained, is a blueprint, right? It's your sort of sketching out of your main ideas, paragraph by paragraph, so that you can sit down and write the essay draft with already the main ideas in place. You'll just have to go into greater detail. So you can read through these instructions on your own, as usual. But yeah, I don't have really much to say here except that this is going to be your essay draft. And so today's session is going to be about APA format, how to make sure that your paper looks like this. Okay. By the way, I wrote this paper. Okay, so you have this essay. You have 2 essays. Don't forget that. Every single writing activity comes with models because we understand that even though I think these lectures are helpful, sometimes people learn most just by looking at examples, figuring out things just by looking at in this case, a finished example or model of an actual ad analysis essay. So even though I jokingly put Jane, a student, right? I could easily just put my own name since I wrote it. But yeah, we're going to go over how to make your paper look like this. So having a header, the title page that looks like this, making sure that your paragraphs are properly spaced and formatted like this, making sure that your in-text citations are correct, and that your references page looks more or less like this. And so, I should have said this at the very beginning. I'll filibuster for about, 30 seconds or so. But if you have Microsoft Word, you might open up a blank document right now because I'm literally going to walk through the steps of how to make your paper look like this. Okay, so you could either do it now with me, those in attendance, or those who are watching this video because they couldn't attend live, or you can go back and just watch it later. But for the people who are live, it certainly doesn't hurt to open up a blank Microsoft Word document right now and follow along, because once you have this basic template set up, yeah, you're good to go. You just have to replace the gibberish, which I'm going to use, with your own text when it's time to write. So this is what I have, a blank document. Okay. I should note that I'm using Microsoft Word for Mac. I assume that Microsoft Word for PC probably works the exact same way. If you're using another word processing program like Pages, that's Apple's version of word processing software, or even Microsoft Word has a free version of Word available online. If you go to Microsoft OneDrive, you can use its free online version. I do think it doesn't come, or at least it doesn't have built in as many of these clickable shortcuts, though you should be able to go to the tools up top. Basically, if you're not using a installed version of Microsoft Word, you might need to do some extra work to figure out how to do some of these steps, but I'm going to assume that people have access to Microsoft Word. Okay, so let's begin with the header. Okay, so the header is this top inch at the top of the page. Now, if you have an installed version of Microsoft Word, it's as simple as just double clicking up here, and boom, you're in. Now, we're going to create the cover page first. Okay, we're going to create the header and the cover page. So you can see once you click on the header, you're automatically in the header and footer tab. So we start off here, home, but header and footer. Now we have to do a couple things. First, we have to type the words running head colon, and then in all caps you put the full title of your essay. So I'm just going to put placeholder English paper title. Okay, so all caps. So running head colon, and then in all caps the full title of your paper. Now this next part is frustrating. Okay, let me tell you what we're aiming for. The words running head is just an announcement. It's telling the reader that throughout the entire document, this is going to be the header, the name of your paper. In this case, my Jeep analysis is called, I gave it the title Animal Logic, so it's announcing that this will be the running title, okay, in the header. But the words running head do not have to appear on every page. Actually, there's a small mistake here. The H should be lowercase. See, running head appears here. On all other pages, it does not. Now, what's frustrating is, and I haven't figured this out. I've been doing this for like a year, and I don't know why I have to redo steps, but I always copy this, right? Copy it to my clipboard. I use Command C. If you're using a PC, it's probably something like Control C, right? Whatever the copy function is. Because we have to click on this little guy here that says different first page. Because that means that the header is going to be different on page 1 than all other pages. Yet every time I do this, it makes the information disappear. So, see? But because I've copied it, I just paste it back in. It's going to disappear again. Watch. We also have to insert page numbers. Okay? So insert page numbers. And yes, we want it in the top right corner. And yes, we want it to show up on the first page. So we click that box. Now, as soon as I click OK, it's probably going to make things disappear again. Hold on. Yeah, here the page number didn't show up for some reason. Look, different first page has been unchecked. So yeah, it's a little bit annoying. You might have to recheck these things a couple times. There, boom. Good. Running head, colon, full title of paper in caps, page number. Great. We're ready to move on. You're going to see that we're going to have to fix something else later. But okay, for now, this is good. So I can just click out of here. Okay. And now we have to create the rest of the cover page. So just by eyeballing, okay, you go to the center of the page. It needs to be centered horizontally and vertically. So we're going to use our center tool here. Also, I recommend right here and now, if you're following along with me, go ahead and just set spacing to double spaced, because the entire paper needs to be double spaced anyway, including the cover page. So why not do it now? And we need 3 things here. We need the title of the paper, but here we just follow common rules, okay? So we're not putting it in all caps. We're capitalizing major words. Now, if a small word like of appears, that doesn't get capitalized, or the, okay, or and, or an. But the title of your paper, your name, okay, enter, and then the name of the school you attend. Okay, so that's Full Sail University. Now, we're almost done. The entire paper, okay, this is just APA rules. The entire paper has to be in Times New Roman, 12 point. So no, you don't get to play around with fonts and choose Courier or what are some other common ones? Helvetica or whatever however it's pronounced. No, Times New Roman, 12 points. We're going to do that now as well. Khalil asks, how many times did you press enter to get to the middle of the page? Actually, I'm going to show you that I don't know. And I'm going to hold on, Khalil. I'm going to show you a trick, okay? So this needs to be Times New Roman, 12 point. By the way, so does the header. The header is not automatically in this font style either. So I'm going to highlight, go back to home, because this is where my font choices are. Everything here means you have different choices. So here under the header footer tab, we only have header and footer choices. So home, Times New Roman, 12. Okay, good. So perfect. Okay. Times New Roman, Times New Roman. Now, Khalil, here's what you do. Here's what you do. Now, on Mac, I can just use my, what do you call it, touchpad. It has a cool thing. Maybe PCs are starting to have this too, laptops. But kind of like what you do on a cell phone, where you can kind of pinch to make the screen smaller or bigger. You can do the same thing. So I'm just going to shrink. And yeah, I'm just going to eyeball it. So, I don't know. That looks, maybe that. Yeah, who cares, right? Just do your best. I'm not going to get a ruler and find out if you're exactly in the middle, but I don't know. This one looks more in the middle to me. Okay, so yeah, just eyeball it. Once you have all this set, put your cursor at the end of the last thing you typed. And now just keep hitting enter until you get to the very first line of a brand new page. As soon as you get there, stop. So I'm getting close, getting close, getting close. One more. Okay, one more. Stop. As soon as we get to the very first line of a brand new page, we again type our title. I know, it seems weird. Why does the title have to get typed so many times? It just does. Ebony says, do we have to name the essay, or are we able to name it after the ad itself? You can use your judgment. I mean, there are people who say their title is McDonald's Ad Analysis Essay. That's fine. Honestly, I don't really care that much. But, if you do come up with a clever title, like again, because the Jeep ad plays with animal imagery, I just called it Animal Logic. I just like the sound of that title as well. So you can come up with your own creative title. But yeah, do give it a title. Don't call it placeholder English paper title. Okay, so we've centered the title one more time. Now, we hit enter once, just once. Remember, we're already set up for double spacing. And we can start typing our essay. So we have to begin at the left. The first line of a new paragraph needs to be indented. So we hit tab, which bumps it over 5 spaces. And you can start typing your paper here. Now I'm going to copy this because I want to fill up a bunch of space. All right. By the way, when you get to the end of a sentence, like you hit a period, you hit your space bar twice. 1, 2. Okay. It's not just one space, it's 2 spaces. 1, 2. Sean says, can you use a format and set vertical layout to center instead, and then use page breaks to go to the next page? Maybe. I don't know. Sean, even though this is an online class and I'm teaching format here, I'm not an expert in Microsoft Word's advanced functions. If you can get your paper to look like this using an alternate method, yeah, that's fine. But be careful, because I know that Microsoft Word has functions like, I think it has citation tools or maybe even APA format, and sometimes those create problems. So I strongly recommend really just manually doing all this, because it's not difficult. Okay, so actually let me copy all this because I want to fill up even more space. And also, I mean, most of you know this, but as you can see, if you have double spacing already set up, when you reach the end of a line, it automatically wraps around. Duh, right? You already know that. But you'd be amazed. There are students who single space, and then they try to force it to be double spaced by hitting enter at the end of every line, and that just creates problems. It starts automatically capitalizing like the S and start the P in paper, because it's not recognizing that it's truly double spaced. It's thinking that you're starting a new paragraph, and that's why it insists on capitalizing. So yeah, just set up double spacing in advance. I recommend setting it up, when you're on the cover page. Actually, did I already copy all this? Here, okay. And when you do reach the end of a paragraph, you hit enter once, just once, not twice, not 3 times, just once. Hit tab to indent and keep going. Okay. Actually, I'm going to grab all this because I want to fill up pages of space. Because here's what happens. Students like to do this. They insert extra space here. They insert extra space here, because to their eyes it looks less crowded, but that's not APA format. Let's look at the Jeep essay again. Again, maybe to your eyes this looks crunched, but to me it doesn't. By the way, open up a novel sometime, right? The Twilight books or Harry Potter. It's not a convention when a paragraph ends to have extra space between paragraphs. No, one paragraph ends, the next begins. Okay. Oh, and real quickly, I already mentioned it, but let me just reinforce. You have two examples, okay? So if you click on this guy here, this is the instructions for the essay draft activity, the 3.5 assignment. So you have this past student example of her Diet Coke essay, and it's also an example of APA format. So you can see it looks identical, right, to my Jeep essay. Of course, she gets it right. I made a mistake. I capitalized the H in head. She has it properly lowercase. But yeah, you have two examples to look at as well. So you could always just compare your paper to the two examples. And yes, you also have the Jeep essay. Okay, so you have two model essays to look at. Back to where we were. Khalil says, so we press tab for every single new paragraph. After the first paragraph, it should automatically, like here, I'll hit enter. Okay, sometimes it does recognize the tab, but yeah, Khalil, if it's not automatically recognizing it, it might be because I'm copying and pasting. I believe that maybe someone else can confirm it, but I seem to remember when I'm typing that sometimes it's automatically indenting a new paragraph because it just, yeah, it understands that you've been doing that anyway. So let me fill up a bunch of space. I'm going to pretend that I'm just going wild here, typing away, and somewhere on page 3, I'll pretend we're at the end of the paper. So how much space have I filled up? Do I have room to put in one more paragraph maybe? Yeah. Okay, let's imagine that my paragraph ends, my paper ends here. Yeah, Sean, thanks. It's because I'm copying and pasting. Normally, when you're typing, just because you're not going to be copying and pasting gibberish like this, I'm nearly 100% sure, Cleo, that you won't actually have to hit tab because your Microsoft Word will already recognize what you're doing. But yeah, if you have to do it manually, it's not a big deal. You just hit tab. I do see students sometimes try to do it manually, where they'll hit spacebar like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's not far enough. Okay, so yeah, you hit tab. So we're on page 3. Let's say our paper is over. Wherever your paper ends, actually, let me eliminate a few lines to show something. Okay, so that's a pretty short conclusion. Okay, but let's say our paper ends here. Wherever your paper ends, you keep hitting enter until you get to a brand new page, just like we did earlier. As soon as you get there, you stop. Stop! And here, we click the center tool and type the word references. It's not with a colon. It's not bolded. It's not italicized. It's not underlined. It's not in all caps. It's not called bibliography. Okay, it's just the simple word references. By the way, this is the beauty of APA. You might think it's dull, but actually this kind of consistency, we're using one single font size and style for the entire document without embellishment. Again, without trying to make things look pretty, without making the title in an extra large font or bolding it. No, the entire document is in one clean, consistent format. That's what we're aiming for here. And we'll come back to this later because we're going to create references. But if you're with me so far, you're doing great. Except we need to fix one thing. Remember earlier I said that what we're aiming for is running head here, but on all remaining pages, not. So this is where frustration number 2 is going to come in. As you can see, the page numbers did not show up on all remaining pages. So yes, you sometimes have to do steps several times. So, and if you can't get this down, I'm not going to make a big deal about it. Okay, so try your best. Okay, so different first page. That looks good. That looks good. So let's go into the header on page 2. Okay, and delete these words. Let's again insert page numbers because they're not showing up on all pages. They need to. Okay, so yes, top right. Yes, show number on first page. Click OK and cross your fingers. Good. Here, the words running head are not showing up. Page numbers are. And here. But look, once I click different first page, it should be fine. Oh, man. Okay, let's try this. Running head, colon. Oh, I know. Oh, I'm so stupid. That's page 2. Okay, hold on. Okay, good. We got it. Yeah, Sean, I saw it. I caught that. So now it's perfect. Running head on the cover page. All remaining pages gone. Also, the running head does not have to be the full title. If you have a long title, it can be a shortened version. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe I get rid of the word title. Use your own judgment. Here, the title's so short, Animal Logic, that yeah, it appears on the running head and it appears on all the others. But if your title is, I don't know, McDonald's First Day Ad Analysis Essay, sure, that entirely should appear here. But on all remaining pages, maybe you just have uh, a shortened version. Again, McDonald's Analysis or something like that. Okay, so on all remaining pages, it should be a shortened version of the title if needed. So if you're with me so far, yeah, you've got your paper set up. You can literally just overwrite this stuff, okay? Because your document is already set up to handle it. Now, we've just covered layout, okay? So this is how the paper looks. Spacing, the cover page, header, all that stuff, paragraphing. There are two other aspects to APA, in-text citations and references. Now, for the outline, remember I said just try your best. Okay, I pointed you to projectapa.info, this guy here. I pointed you to the sample outlines that were included in the activity, and just told you, yeah, copy. Okay, imitate the models. Go to projectapa.info. Just give it your best college try. Pardon the pun. Now we're going to get into the rules much more specifically because yes, for this essay draft, I'm going to expect APA to be pretty close to perfect. Not perfect. I understand that things happen. But yeah, it should be largely perfect. If I was looking for 80% accuracy or whatever I said last week for the outline, I'm looking for like 95% accuracy for the essay draft. In other words, maybe you get frustrated with getting running head to not appear on the other pages. If it does, I'm not going to freak out about that, okay? But yeah, if I see that it's not in this format, right, that you're just inventing your own style, that's when points get lost. Or, because we're going to cover in-text citations now, because in-text citations I think are the most confusing. They're not really confusing, but I understand why they are. Part of the reason they're confusing is because there's this sort of choose your own adventure feel to in-text citations. Do people still understand that reference to choose your own adventure books? Where am I going here? Where's the library? Oh, there it is. So I'm going to go find that same article I found last week. Remember, I triggered it in about 2 seconds and then reminded people that it's not that easy. But I know how to trigger. Okay, so library research databases. I think I found that article under EBSCOhost, not Nexus Uni, formerly LexisNexis. Select all of the databases at once. And I think I use Gimme Shelter, because that's the name of the song used in the Call of Duty ad and Call of Duty. And it's this article here that I found last week, okay? Gimme Sales by Ann Donahue of Billboard Magazine. Now, last week I mentioned that it's a pretty short article, and most of it doesn't seem entirely useful. Okay, so the games set a new record for opening day video game sales. 5.6 million copies sold. That's not really helping me understand why the song fits this ad. I mean, maybe that could be a fun factoid in the introduction if you're just trying to create a hook and you maybe begin with, I don't know, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, one of the best-selling video game franchises in history or whatever, and you want to drop in this factoid. Okay, that might work. But yeah, if we're literally trying to answer the question of why does the ad use this song, Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones, it doesn't really answer that anywhere. But this information, it's kind of tangentially related, because I mentioned this last week. Okay, you still have to maybe do additional research to answer the question why this song. But clearly this song was important because the Vice President of Music Affairs flew to New York to obtain permission, right? Even For the first time in Activision history, it allowed another company to make edits to the ad itself in order to obtain approval from the band members as well. Okay. Now, with in-text citations, why do I say it's like a choose your own adventure book? Because you always have several options. First, you have to decide, am I going to directly quote or am I going to paraphrase? Some students, and by the way, I'm never mocking when I say this. You don't know until you know, right? So students will sometimes just grab all this and say, "Wow, this is so well written. It's better worded than I could ever say it." But avoid long chunks like this in directly quoting for two reasons. One, any quotation over 40 words needs to be put in a special format called block format, which I'm not going to discuss in this section because I don't think most of you need such long quotes. If you're using such a long quote, it means that the entire quotation is so important. You want your reader to fully digest that quote because you're going to do something with it. But before you can do something with it, it's paramount that your readers have read that full text. So imagine, I don't know, a piece of literary criticism where they're examining a novel. Okay, so they might, yes, quote a huge chunk from a novel, an entire paragraph, because the writer is then going to, I don't know, analyze that section, that paragraph in the novel. This is not that kind of paper. I can already tell you that the best option here, if you're interested in this information, is probably to paraphrase. There's nothing truly, I mean, I will find something quotable in here because I do want to show how to cite a direct quote and a paraphrase. But probably the best solution here is to take all this information and just put it in your own words. Now, the challenge is to use your own language, okay? You can't just say, according to Activision Vice President of Music Affairs Tim Riley, obtaining, okay, instead of scoring, Gimme Shelter for the ad was no small challenge. Okay, so you're just changing a word here and there, but otherwise using the original. No, that's plagiarism. Okay, changing an occasional word is not putting things in your own word. Now, some things like Activision Vice President of Music Affairs Tim Riley, there's really no other way to say that. I mean, sure, you could reverse things. Tim Riley, Activision's Vice President of Music Affairs, but there's really no other way to mention a person's name and his title. Okay, so that's not plagiarism. So I'm going to pretend that, let's say this paragraph here is about the Call of Duty ads use of music. This is a little bit flawed because obviously you need to ideally look over your work and make sure that the research is fitting in with your paragraph as a whole. And we won't really get a sense of that here because this is mostly just filled with gibberish. But we'll do some imagining, okay? So keep track, okay? First, we're going to handle a paraphrase. So that's choice number one. Are we paraphrasing? Are we directly quoting? Second choice, and this is what makes in-text citations and APA a little bit confusing, is you have two ways of doing this, always. And it depends on whether you want to mention the author's name in your actual sentence or not. Okay? So I could say, for example, according to Anne Donahue of Billboard. Oops. Okay? And you don't have to say of Billboard. It depends, find your own way. Okay? Some people just mention the author's name. Sometimes they don't even mention the full name. They just say according to Donahue. But here's the rule. If you use the author's name in your sentence, immediately after the name appears, you have to put in parentheses the year of publication for that article. So according to Anne Donahue, 2010 of Billboard. And then I'm going to say in my own words, Activision's Vice President of Music Affairs, Tim Riley, flew to New York in order to obtain the rights to Gimme Shelter, even allowing the Rolling Stones to approve the ad. Okay? I think that's pretty much my own words. I don't think I'm stealing any original language. Do we get this, by the way, people? That this is a paraphrase, right? I'm not directly quoting. Here's the awesome thing about paraphrasing. We're done, right? According to Anne Donahue, parentheses, 2010, of Billboard, Activision's vice president, blah, blah, blah. Now, you don't have to mention the author's name in your sentence. Okay, you could say, according to an article in Billboard, Activision's vice president, blah, blah, blah. If you choose this route, then at the very end of the sentence, you put author's last name, Donahue, comma, space, 2010. Okay, in parentheses. And notice the end punctuation goes at the end of the citation. It doesn't go here. If we put it here, then technically the sentence ends here, and then the next sentence begins with parenthetical information. Donahue 2010, you can start typing. Okay, no. The end punctuation goes here. Okay. Are people following this? Because this is the part that trips people up. And it all depends on whether or not you, use the author's name in your sentence. And you'll have to decide on that feelingly. Like in this case, because it's Billboard magazine, I could see myself saying, according to Ann Donahue, right? Right? So either way, basically, if you mention the author's name, a year appears automatically, or you don't mention the author's name and just save it for the end. And you have examples. If you go to projectapa.info, you get a reminder. So in Text Citations, just go to the very first guy here. And you see 2 formats for a quotation, 2 formats for a summary. So same thing. Witten, 2010, that's the author's name, claimed that active learning is a major factor in gameplay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is a paraphrase. Or here the person has decided to not mention the author's name and just save it for the end. And sometimes people are, and especially in academic writing, sometimes they don't even present the full person's name. So choose your own style. Okay. Here, according to Ann Donahue and Billboard. Now, that's how you handle a paraphrase. So what about a direct quotation? I'm going to go back here. Like I said, I think paraphrase is the best for this huge chunk of information, but okay, since I want to show what it's like to quote, let me take this last piece, this last piece of information here, because that's probably the most quotable part. Okay. And by the way, this is an option too, which is that don't just grab a whole chunk. Okay. That's not really, you're supposed to use occasional research to help support your ideas, not the other way around. Occasionally your ideas in order to support the research. Huge chunks of information dropped into your paper. So you can do things like this. Selectively take only a section. So I'm going to just take this section here, and I'm going to show how this works. By the way, it's the same exact logic. We can either mention the author's name in the sentence, so I'll just keep what I have here. According to Ann Donahue, 2010, same rule applies. You mention the author's name in your sentence, a year goes in parentheses right after the author's name. So according to Ann Donahue in Billboard, Activision's vice president of music affairs, Tim Riley, flew to New York in order to obtain rights to Give Me Shelter. And, quote, this happens every month. And unfortunately, the trick of doing this doesn't fix it. Give me a second. I'm going to repair this. Okay. And because it's difficult to see, let me just highlight the section we're working with. Okay, so according to Ann Donahue, 2010, at Billboard, Activision Vice President of Music Affairs Tim Riley flew to New York in order to obtain the rights to Give Me Shelter and, quote, for the first time in Activision history, allowed another company to make edits to the ad itself in order to obtain band approval from the band members as well, end quote. Okay? Now, for a direct quote, yes, we need to include a page or a paragraph number. So this doesn't have page numbers, so we count the paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The quotation comes from paragraph 5. And the abbreviation, lowercase P-A-R-A, period, space, the number 5. Period. Okay, again, the end punctuation doesn't come here. It comes here after the citation. Online articles, the ones you have to keep scrolling down to read, you'll also have to count paragraphs. If it's a traditional source with page numbers, the abbreviation is lowercase p, period, and then whatever the page number is. John says you don't have to put the author and the year. No, because it's already been mentioned in the sentence. Okay. Now, John, if you don't name the author in your sentence, because you don't have to. Again, you could just say according to Billboard, Activision's vice president, blah, blah, blah. Then yes, at the very end, Donahue, comma, space, year, 2010, comma, space, paragraph 5. Okay, this is the part that trips people up because it is, yeah, it's a set of binary options. First, are you quoting or you're paraphrasing? And then second, are you going to use the author's name in your sentence or not? Or are you going to save it until the end? And if you look at the models, again, you have the Jeep essay, right? So here's an example. Here, I didn't use the author's name because I just didn't think that this author, Radich, from Branding Magazine, yeah, I don't think that's Branding Magazine. Okay, I don't know. That's not a super well-known publication. I just didn't think it was that important to mention his name. So I found my own way to lead into the quotation. The ad encourages viewer interaction, comma, for, quote, when rotated, each of the vintage drawn animals becomes another species, leaving the viewer to choose which one he or she prefers, playing on their perceptions, end quote. Radich, 2013, paragraph 3. Now, sure, I could have said, right? According to, I don't remember the guy's name, so let's call him Kevin Radich. The ad encourages viewer, blah, blah, blah. But if I do that, as soon as his name appears, I have to put the year, 2013. And this just gets reduced to that. Okay. Does this make sense to people, though? I don't want to belabor the point, but this really does trip people up because I see people mix the two formats. I see people who think it's only an author's name or year. Again, study the examples. The Diet Coke one also. Okay. So here's an example where she does mention the author's name in her sentence. This is what advertising critic Gene Kilborn, so the name appears immediately, 2015, is referring to when she writes, quote, at the end of the quote, page number. And here's an example of where, yeah, she's not quoting directly. Some studies suggest that a positive mood can increase people's visual attention by 22%. That's a paraphrase. And so just authors, names, 2015. By the way, projectapa.info is a good place to go if you have those exceptions. Like, what if there's more than one author? Here's how to handle 2 authors, 3 to 5 authors, more than 5 authors. Okay, same things for references, right? I mean, I think I might have mentioned this last week, but yeah, I think I did, right? If there's no author, use the first 2 to 3 words of the article title. So in this case, it's, if there were no author, it's gimme sales. Punctuation, by the way, goes inside the quotation marks. Almost always. There's some exceptions where it doesn't, but usually it does. If there's no date, use the abbreviation N period D period, lowercase. It stands for no date. Okay, but this does have a year and an author. So that's it. But yeah, there is a distinction. Paraphrases do not require a page or paragraph number. Direct quotes do. So sometimes I see students who, they just, anytime there's research, they put Smith in 2012, thinking that a last name and a year is all that's ever is needed. And no, it's a bit more complicated than that. I don't think it's terribly complicated. Once you get this kind of choose your own adventure thing down, or this list of binary choices, are you quoting? Are you paraphrasing? Are you using the author's name in your sentence, or are you not? Then you'll be fine. Okay, so that's in text citations. Reference actually, I think, is much, much easier. This got bumped down because I added text above, so let me return this to the very top of the page, center it. Same thing. After the word references, we hit enter once, just once. Not 2 times, not 3 times, just once. And this is where our references will go. They're not going to be centered though, so we have to begin on the left. Anything found through the Full Sail Library database. I did show this last week, so I'm going to do it quickly. You can use the citation tool, but you have to fix the mistakes that it makes, right? So I'm going to grab this reference, but yeah, authors' names should not be in all caps. Sometimes the citation tool puts article titles in all caps. That's not correct either, but I'll fix that, okay? And carry it over. Oops, I guess I didn't copy it. Hold on. There we go. Match destination formatting, because it will automatically put it in Times New Roman. And yeah, I'm going to fix that. The S in sales does not get capitalized on the references page, and on the references page only. The title of your article, or whatever it is, video, article, book, follows different capitalization rules in MLA. For APA, you capitalize titles just as you would a normal sentence. Only on the references page, though. Okay, not in the text of your paper, just on the references page. So yeah, that looks good. That looks good. The only thing we're missing is a retrieve from line. Retrieved from, and if it comes from the Full Sail Library database, just put the name of the database, which is not EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost is a giant umbrella that includes many databases, but this one comes from Business Source Complete. Okay, and you can find that. Sometimes it's in the site area, or sometimes it's here. Business Source Complete. You can find the database pretty easily. It'll be Business Source Complete or Academic Search Premier or Academic Search Complete, whatever it's called. Okay. Now, this is something that students forget. With paragraphs, notice we indent the first line of a new paragraph, but not any remaining lines, right? On the references page, it's the opposite. We do not indent the first line, but if it goes to a second or third or fourth line, yeah, we do. These are called hanging indents, okay? Because it's kind of like it's hanging right below. So I'm going to put my cursor right in front of there and just grab the bottom half of this hourglass over 1/2 inch. And it will remember this for all future references. Then you hit enter just once, and you can begin the next one. Now, I'm going to show how easy this is where you don't even need the citation tool. Before this session, I just Googled Call of Duty Black Ops, Gimme Shelter, and I'm just going to randomly grab an article, okay? Don't even know the quality of it. Here, this one, which also comes from Billboard. We have everything we need. An author's pop-ups. Author's name, Anthony Bruno. A date, 11/19/2010. A title. Yeah, we're good to go. I already know that we're going to need this, so I'm going to go ahead and copy it. And even though I don't have a citation tool, author's last name, comma, first initial, his name was Anthony. I'm going to have to move this because these should be in alphabetical order. Actually, I'll do it now. Eliminate that extra space. Okay, so author's last name, comma, space, first initial, period, space, then in parentheses the year. This is a little bit complicated to explain, but normally we need a fuller date, especially for websites. If a full date is provided, you should give it because websites are daily newspapers, websites, because things appear with more frequency. It's more important to give a specific date than things that are published less frequently. So where was I? So yeah, 2010, what was it, November 19th? Okay, so yeah, year, comma, full date, the month spelled out, not an abbreviation. Period. After every major section, period. So author's name, period. Date in parentheses, period. Now the title. Ooh, that didn't carry over. What was the title? Rolling Stones team up with Call. Why isn't it copying? Let me try it one more time. There we go. And I'll just use the match destination formatting so it is automatically put. Now I need to get rid of this bolding. Remember, no bolding anywhere in this document. Now, you'll really impress me if you can remember this nitpicky rule. Remember what I said, that article titles are not, that in APA you would capitalize just as you would a regular sentence. So Rolling Stones remains capitalized because that's a proper noun. That's the name of a band. But team, no, because we wouldn't capitalize these words in a regular sentence. Up, no. With, no. How about Call of Duty Black Ops? Should I keep that capitalized or should I start lowering things? John says yes. Keep it capitalized? Okay, I understand you, John. You're saying no, it should be kept the way it is. Yes, I will fix this tiny error. The of should not be capitalized, and I don't care if they did in this title here, or wherever it was. Call of Duty. Yeah, the oven Call of Duty. That shouldn't be capitalized. I don't care that that's how it's produced in the original title. It's wrong. So I'll fix that for them. Okay, Call of Duty's video game. The V in video game. No. Okay. Actually, let me open up a quick document and show you a nifty thing. If you're ever confused about when should you italicize, now on the references page you don't italicize. Well, you actually do if it's the title of a film or video. Or when do you use quotation marks, right? Like in the text of your paper. Let's say you decide to use a title. You italicize for big things or whole things. What do I mean by this? I mean titles of movies, books, magazines, newspapers, CDs, video games. What else am I leaving out here? Television shows, okay, etc. Quotation marks are used for small things or parts of those wholes. So, not an entire book, but an article, or an essay, or a poem. Not an entire CD, but a song. Not a television show, but a TV episode. Okay. So, for example, my favorite song from Taylor Swift's album 1989, I italicize because that's a whole, it's an album, is Shake It Off. Okay, so the song is a individual part of the larger thing, right? So the larger thing, the big thing, gets italicized. Or my favorite Star Trek, The Next Generation episode. Okay, so the title of the television show, italicized. It's a big thing. It's a whole thing. Is Inner Light. Okay, see how that works? If you can remember this, big things, whole things, get italicized. The smaller things that are usually parts of these bigger things, they get put in quotation marks. I know that's a little bit different than what I'm talking here on the references page, but on the references page, yes, a YouTube video would be italicized. Okay, so even though YouTube videos can be very short, they qualify as like movies, videos. So the titles get italicized. By the way, let me help you out here. If you do cite a YouTube video, I always put how to cite YouTube APA. And I'm looking for APA's official blog. Here it is. Because this is from APA itself. And I'm going to put this in the chat. For people watching this video, just, do the same search. Okay? And just imitate the example. So you can see the title gets italicized. And here's the special capitalization rules I was talking about. Right? So in MLA, you would capitalize every major word. The G in ghost, the G in girl, the C in caught. Not the O and N, because that's a tiny word. But in APA, you capitalize just as you would a regular sentence. So here, my computer is going haywire again. It is all frozen. Okay. There's the link. If you think you're going to be citing a YouTube video, be sure to bookmark that. Okay. And let me get back to where I was. So I might have mentioned this week too, but imagine an article that's titled "The Road Ahead, the Road Behind." Now, in the text of your essay, if you decide to mention the name of the article, then yeah, it goes in quotation marks, right? Because essays, articles are smaller things. On the references page, no, there are no quotation marks. And not only that, but you do not capitalize these major words. It would look like this. And if we look at some examples, so here's the Diet Coke essay. Let's scroll down to her references page, right? So here's a YouTube video. Italicized, because videos are italicized. And look, Diet Coke is capitalized because it's a proper noun. It's the name of a product. But everything else, lowercase. Here's a long title. The influence of motivational and mood status, blah, blah, blah. A quantification system. Again, all lowercase. Because she's following the rule, right? You capitalize just as you would a normal sentence. In MLA, all these words, not the small stuff, would be capitalized. You do capitalize the first word after a colon. Same thing here. Jesus is a brand of jeans. The J would be capitalized anyway, but of course it's the beginning of a sentence, so yeah, but everything else lowercase. Same thing here. Pathos, logos, and ethos in advertising. Right? Capitalized just as you would a regular sentence. I know, you want me to move on, but almost no one remembers to do that. So you'll impress me a lot if you can remember to fix the capitalization issues. Okay? So we're almost done here. Rolling Stones team up with Call of Duty Black Ops video game. Now you're asking me maybe, hey, you just said video games get italicized. Choose, okay? The original way that it's produced on the website has it in single quotes, which is not correct, but okay. If you want to fix the error and do the, and do this, that's fine too. Again, not violating any rules because we're punctuating just as we would a regular sentence, okay? We need a retrieve from line. We're not done yet. Retrieve from. And here, because it's a website, oh, did I lose my article? We just grab the URL. Boom. Do people think that they can follow these basic steps? Okay, so I've created in-text citations in real time. I've created references in real time. I mean, really, I could just make one up right now. Smith, J, a year, 2012. Title of article goes here, right? The name of the publication, let's call it Forbes, italicized. Again, publication names, magazines, newspapers, even websites. Yeah, they get italicized. Big things, whole things. And then retrieved from http www blah blah blah. Okay, so yeah, it's this simple. As a matter of fact, here I should probably put Billboard, the name of the publication. Organized alphabetically. So, okay, I've walked through the steps. We're pretty much at the hour mark. And I know this is dry stuff, right? I do think this might be the most practical and useful lecture in a lot of ways because it is showing you step-by-step walkthroughs of APA. But I understand it's not sexy, fun. It's pretty dry stuff. I admit that. But what I want to know is, can the people here, do you feel confident that you can do the same? That you can make your paper look like this? Format-wise, that you can create in-text citations, that you can create references? Yes, no, maybe so. Can people still hear me? Okay, great. John says yes. Everybody else, who knows? Actually, I think I lost some people. That's not a good sign. Okay, so questions, comments? Now's the time to ask. I'll hang out for a little bit. If not, that's really what I needed to go over today. The essay draft, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. Read the instructions on the assignment, but literally it's, yes, you sitting down to write your essay draft, but making sure that it's an APA format. If you need to rewatch this lecture, do so and skip around. If you can't remember exactly what I covered for in-text citations, just skip to that part of the lecture. If you can't remember how I built references, just skip to that part. If lectures are not your best way to learn information, then go to projectapa.info and click under in-text citations, okay, the appropriate area, or references, or just study the examples. Okay, you have the Diet Coke paper, you have the Jeep essay, and yeah, so you have, I think, three, if you count McGraw-Hill, there's some supplemental readings on APA. You have 4 different areas. And yeah, just imitate, copy. You're welcome, John. But yes, if you're comfortable with what we've gone over, I'm not going to force you to stay. In fact, I thank you for showing up. Again, I'll hang out a bit if people do have specific questions. If not, I thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you next week. Next week's going to be shorter, by the way. Next week, I don't have as much to go over because it's the final week, and it's mostly just summary stuff, okay, end of class stuff. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.